Welcome back, my beautiful book lovers. Let's talk about the 15 books I read over January and February and what I thought of them. Now, this was a little lower than I had anticipated. I was aiming for 20 books over January and February, but 15 is still good. So let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into January, where I read 8 books and they were banging, ladies. I read so many good books in January, so let's dive right in. My first book of January was The Everlasting, and this is a masterpiece. It is a standalone, so we absolutely love it, and it follows a knight and a scholar, but it is a female knight and a nerdy scholar MMC. Their romance is that I would love you across any lifetime kind of story. Now you need to let this one cook, because at the beginning you might be confused. I remember starting out and being like, what the fuck is going on here? And then the plot hits, ladies. It is a goddamn masterpiece. I absolutely love this one. There is time travel aspects to it and just beautifully written, beautifully done. Then I read We Who Will Die, which was so much fun, you guys. This was like just a good time read. Okay, think vampires meets gladiators, okay, in like a Roman inspired world, but then like let's mix vampires into the equation. I think that was done absolutely fantastically, and I think this book was a lot of fun. Now it is setting up something that I really, really, really hope happens. I'm anticipating a potential shift in the MMC, and I want that shift. Now that is not a spoiler because it hasn't happened and has not been confirmed. This is just my hopes and dreams, and you will catch on to that if you read it and you love a morally gray MMC. There might be a little vampire that stands out to you, but this one, the FMC is going through these like gladiator trials, and there's vampires and there's magic and there's like class systems, and she is set to kill the emperor, and it's just like, it's done well. There's a second chance romance in it too, and it's a fun read. The Poison Daughter was another standalone that I absolutely devoured in January. Okay, this was spicy, spicy, spicy. Like, let's crank up the heat 10 notches on this. But it was one of few super, super, super spicy books that doesn't compromise on the plot. And what I mean by that is, yes, it was hot, but so was the plot. The FMC in this has a poisonous kiss, the kiss of death, if you will. She has killed her previous husband and now has ended up in another arranged village with this guy from the town over that they thought was wiped out, and they're trying to set up this like marriage for their political gain. The FMC and the MMC in this try to kill each other and start off with a true enemies to lovers tale, and it blossoms beautifully, and there's mystery elements woven throughout, and there's just it was spicy and it was done right. Then I read the first 2 books of the Freckled Fate trilogy, which is A Broken Promise and A Simple Truth. These were very fun reads, and they were quick and easy. They were both like under 300 pages, so I was just turning through them easily. This was done well, and I think it is for our Throne of Glass lovers, okay, like myself. Now, this one, I love that it didn't rush the plot. Book 1 is really getting to know your FMC, who has been in slavery and then breaks out, gets away from this horrible guard that they call destroyers because they have like this fire magic, and then there's other magical elemental magic throughout the story, but she ends up teaming up with an assassin, Priya, who is goddamn hilarious. I absolutely love our girl Priya in this book. Now, she goes on a ton of adventures with Priya, and you really get to learn about her character and her growth and female friendships, and I think that's underrepresented in the romantic space. So I absolutely love a found family aspect, especially when it involves female friendships, okay? Then the slow burn really starts to sizzle, and this relationship does not rush. It goes into book 2. That slow burn keeps burning its way into book 2, and it is an enemies to lovers situation. I ate it up. Now, I dove into an epic fantasy. The Will of the Many and The Strength of the Few are the first 2 books that are released in this trilogy right now, and this is high brain power, ladies. This is one of those trilogies that you need to be paying attention. You can't be missing things because so much goes on, and I think if you're a fan of Red Rising, you'll really like The Will of the Many. It is a true epic fantasy. There aren't really romantic elements in it. Now, there is like an attraction between the MMC and another female character in the book, so there's a little drizzle of it, of course, but it is definitely not even subplot in this. This has a hierarchy system that is like a pyramid scheme, but with people's will. And basically, your will is like your energy, your lifeline, and people at the bottom give their will to like people above them, and then they give their will to people above them. So if you're at the top, you're pulling will from all these people below you, and it basically makes you stronger, faster, think faster, smarter, everything just superior. And if you lose that will, you'll be like brain fog, what the hell's going on? And if you're feeding only will, then it's, yeah. But there's these zapper machines where they put people at the bottom, or people that have broken the law or are being punished. They get in these like zappers and they just feed the system. So it's really, currency is your will and your lifeline in this book. And our main character does not like that shit at all. Okay, he wants to change it, ends up in an academy setting, and there's a lot of shit that goes down. Daggermouth was my final read of January, and it was so good. An absolute masterpiece in the dystopian space. And what I've said before, if you're a romantasy girl, I think you're also a dystopian romance girl. This has multiple love stories that will hold a special place in your heart. I didn't expect to be so in love with the side character's love story as I was. There's multi-POV, and it is done so fantastic. It is a true enemies to lovers story. She is shooting him and turned on by him all in one scene, basically. But it's got the rebellion versus like this corrupt government situation, as many dystopians go, but this one is beautiful. The FMC ends up going to kill our MMC in this because he's the executioner, okay? People in the rebellion, they hate him. He's out there, he's just killing good people. So she goes after him. Things go awry, and somehow they end up in an arranged marriage. But to find out why, you're gonna have to read it, and it is action-packed and will have you on the edge of your seat throughout, as well as swooning for these romances. Now, on to February, where I read a total of 7 books. So let's jump into it. Starting off, I did complete the Freckled Fate trilogy with A Rising Hope, which is book 3 in the trilogy, and it wraps things up beautifully. It does have a bit more action in it than the first 2, and I really enjoyed this trilogy. I think it is definitely one to pick up if you love Throne of Glass and you want one that doesn't rush, that has romance, that has action, that has magic. Done well. All right. Now, starting off the month in the ears was The Raven Scholar. This is a goddamn masterpiece. This is an epic fantasy that has everything I love in a fantasy. It has an epic plot line. It has mystery elements, murder mystery elements, okay? It's got trials. It's got animal contingency. So we've got animal elements mixed in. We've got romance that is a second chance romance. And I know it's sprinkled in because this is more of an epic fantasy, but it is done so well. I am 100% rooting for this romance, and it does have like a fade to black scene in there. So I think it'll do it for you. You will be just as obsessed with this romance as I am. The Raven Scholar is who you're following, Nima, and she is part of the Raven contingency. And due to a certain murder mystery going on, she ends up entering the trials to become the next emperor. And each of the animal houses have to like submit someone to go through these trials to try and become the next emperor. This is how the society works, all right? And Nima did not want to be in these, but due to a murder, she does forcibly get added into the games. Who else is in the games? None other than her former lover, Kane, who is part of the Fox contingency. And when I say they represent their animal houses so well, you guys, it is fantastic. Like the foxes, they're sneaky, they're sly, they're assassins, they're spies. And then the ravens, they're scholars, they're smart, they're witty. Like it is done well. And I love that the main character in this isn't your stabby FMC. She's more like her badassery is in her mind. Now, one of my favorite books I have read in February was Dawn of the North. And of course it was because it is book 3 in Demi Winter's Ashen series. Okay. I absolutely love the Ashen series. It is a 10 out of 10 would recommend 6-star goddamn masterpiece series. Each book gets better and better. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but this one has Vikings and magic. And book 3 was absolutely fantastic. It left off in a space where I am hungry for book 4. We do get multiple POVs, and you get more and more as the series continues. And I love the way she feeds it in for you, okay? Because then you have multiple romances you're rooting for at different stages. And I think that keeps you hooked, along with an epic plot line that is just fantastic. The Viking elements are incredible. Then I picked up Kingdom of Time, and whoa, okay, girls, you have to be ready for this one's timelines. This is going to take you for a ride, and you're going to have to accept that you will be confused at the beginning, and you're going to have to let this one cook till the end when some pieces start to tie together. This story follows 4 FMCs. Yes, 4 ladies, and they're all kind of spread out through these different timelines and different settings. And you'll know who you're following at the beginning of each chapter because it bounces between them and will tell you like where it's at, what's going on. And it starts following Nora, who is the best spec of them all. And specs are like these magical protectors of humankind and lesser kind, they say. So anyone that is weaker than them, they're meant to protect, and they actually cannot kill them. That's like against their law. There's evil forces at play, and that's showing up across all the timelines, and they're all kind of connected in some way, but you're gonna have to let it cook to get to that. A lot is going on. There's a lot of different mystery elements. There's a lot of different like who's to be trusted, who's not to be trusted, and there's eternal beings as well. So you might see someone show up in different timelines. Then I got into Half City, and I genuinely think if you are a Zodiac Academy fan, if you're a fan of Wings and Blood, if you're a fan of like Vampire Academy, then I think you will love Half City because we've got demon hunters in a demon hunter university with a demon professor, and that demon professor is in a professor and student relationship that is blooming throughout book 1 with our FMC. So I thought this just like had a ton of tropes that you will absolutely love, but they did it in a unique way. And we've got the urban fantasy elements. So if you love City of Gods and Monsters as well, I think you'll really like this one. And it was just done fantastically. And I thought it was a ton of fun. Like, this is a good time read. A lot of people say if you love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, then I think you will also love this book. And I can confirm that I think that is an accurate assumption because it does give Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Vampire Academy. It is so fun. I thought that this was a good time and I absolutely devoured it. Now, I did switch things up, and I will count this because I did read it, but it was so short. But I read The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Okay, this was read in like one sitting in under an hour because it is a short book, but I think it's a book that everyone should read because somehow it got me emotional. And yes, there are videos on this, so I can also suggest to watch those. But somehow this got tears. This did get tears, so I need to bring it up, and I think everyone should read it. It's for all ages. It's just beautiful and wholesome, and just it pulls at your heartstrings. But we won't talk about that too much because it's not romantasy or fantasy. But I did read it. Now, my 7th book of the month. We're not going to talk at all because it was a self-improvement book, feel good productivity. I will throw it out there, and I thought it did a lot for me, and it was good. But we're not going to talk about that because it's not romantasy or fantasy, and no one really cares about that one. But it was my 7th book, so it will be mentioned. Okay, that's a wrap on the 15 books I read in January and February. 13 of them romantasy and fantasy and dystopian, and then another 2 just bonuses. But have you read any of these romantasy or fantasy books, and what did you think about them? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to tune in next week because we're back every week, baby, with more romantasy recs.